Hey guys, Mark here from ratings.com, and today we're comparing the Beats Solo Pro to the Beats Solo3. Some prefer the on-ear format of the Solo lineup from Beats since they offer the same stylish design as the over-ear studio line, but in a more portable and affordable package. The Pros are the latest update of the Solo lineup, and they come with a few upgrades like noise cancellation and a redesign of their build quality that might be worth it for some. So if you've been considering getting a pair of Solo headphones, should you get the much cheaper Solo3s, or should you spend more and go all out for the Pros instead? Well, in this review, we'll be comparing the design, sound quality, isolation, and leakage, as well as the active features and connection options. But as always, let's start with what's in the box. So in the Beats Solo Pros box, you get a Lightning to USB charging cable, the soft carrying case, the manuals, a carabiner hook, but no audio cable since the Solo Pros do not have a headphone jack. As for the Solo3's box, they also come with a soft carrying case, a micro USB to USB charging cable, a 1.8 TRRS audio cable with an inline remote and mic, a carabiner hook, and the manuals. And that's pretty much it. And let's get the boxes out of the way and compare the design. So starting off with the build quality, and here the Solo Pro have the upper hand. The Pros keep the same design language as the rest of the Solo lineup, but with a few noticeable improvements. The frame of the Pros is much thicker and denser than the previous generations of the lineup. They also have slightly larger ear cups with thicker, plushier pads, as well as a new adjusting hinge that feels a lot more solid than that of the Solo3s. It's a sturdy metal design that links the headband to the ear cups and feels a lot more durable than the previous model's headbands. In this sense, you will feel much more confident adjusting the Solo Pros when putting them on your head than the Solo3s with the somewhat flimsy build. The Pros also fold like the other models in the Solo lineup, making them decently portable and easier to carry around in your bag or on your person. Unfortunately, they only come with a soft carrying case, which is not ideal since it doesn't protect them much against impacts and drops. It should still do a decent job against scuffs and scratches when they're in your bag, but at this price range, they should really come with a good hard case. As for the Solo3, they're a bit more compact than the Pros since they have a generally thinner build for both the headband and the ear cups. They're also a bit lighter, which some may prefer, especially in this on-ear format. However, the flimsier design does make them feel a lot less high-end than the Pros. On the upside, the old hinge mechanism and the lighter design does make them a bit more comfortable overall, which does bring us to our next segment, comfort. In this category, the Solo3s have the slight edge, although not by much. The Solo Pros have thicker padding on the ear cups and the headband, which should make them a little bit more comfortable than the older designs. However, the new hinge mechanism does not extend enough for those with larger head sizes. It's not a huge difference compared to the Solo3s, but since the Pros have a bit more padding and a thicker headband, on larger head sizes, they do tend to feel quite tight than the older models. They're noticeably heavier, so you may feel them more on your head than the Solo3s. On the upside, if you rarely adjust your headphone size when putting them on, then you will most likely find the Pros comfortable, especially thanks to the thicker pads. However, for most, the Solo3s would have a slightly better fit than the Pros. For their control scheme, it's about a tie for both headsets. The Pros have a slightly redesigned control scheme, but keep essentially the same button layout as the previous models. On the left ear cup, there's now a sleek-looking and slightly elevated rocker for volume and call music management control. One press of the Beats logo will pause or resume your music. 2 presses will skip to the next track, and 3 presses rewinds. You can control the music level by pressing the bottom or top of the circular rocker, but the sides do not have any controls and will not do anything similar to the previous generations. On the bottom of the left ear cup, there's a noise cancelling toggle button that lets you cycle between noise cancelling on and transparency mode. You can also set it to turn off the noise cancellation completely instead of just activating transparency within the Bluetooth setting menu when paired to your iOS device. Unfortunately, they do not come with a typical on-off switch or button. Like on the older models, now you have to fold the headphones to power them off. It's a decent feature, but until you get used to it, you will leave them on a few times, which will continue to drain power, even if their battery life is pretty good. This setup is almost the same as the Solo3s, except that the rocker is a little bit more embedded into the ear cups enclosure. Similarly, a press of the Beats logo will manage your music in the same way that it does with the Pros. So 1 press to play pause, 2 to skip, and 3 to rewind. Pressing the bottom of the circular control scheme will lower your volume, and the top will increase it. The buttons have slightly better feedback than the Pros, and for power, you have to physically press the on-off switch that some will prefer over the fold to turn off of the Pros. Overall, design-wise, the Beats Solo Pro are a noticeable improvement over the previous Solo3. They feel better built, more durable and premium, but they are a little tight on some heads. Their control scheme is still great and easy to use, but the fold to turn off feature can be a hit and miss for some. Now let's compare the sound, isolation, and leakage with Sam.
Both of these headphones, like most recent headphones by Beats, have a pretty good and balanced sound. But between the two, it is the Solo Pro that comes out on top. Now, before looking at their measurement results, We are going to play a recording we have done with these headphones so you can get an idea about how their sound compares for yourself. Just keep in mind that this is a relative comparison and not an absolute one. So it is good for seeing which headphone has more bass or treble, for example, but you won't be able to judge the actual sound profile. And if you get one of these headphones and listen to the same track that we've used here, you most likely won't hear the same thing. Here we have the frequency response of the Solo Pro on the left and the Solo3 on the right. And as you can see, both of them are pretty balanced, but slightly on the bass heavy side. However, the overemphasis of Solo Pro is mostly in low bass, but the overemphasis of Solo3 is in the upper bass. This means that the Solo Pro will sound more thumpy and pleasing than the Solo3, which could sound a bit muddy and boomy in comparison. The mid-range of the Solo Pro is nearly perfect, meaning vocals and lead instruments would sound clear and accurate on them. But Solo3 has a noticeable dip around 700 Hz, which combined with their high bass overemphasis can push vocals a bit towards the back of the mix. In the treble range, both of these headphones perform great, but the Solo Pro is slightly hyped in this range. However, it's not enough to be noticeable to most people. In terms of frequency response consistency, both of these headphones perform well, probably because they are on ears and they sit more or less the same on everyone. So you don't really need to worry about losing bass if you have long hair or wear glasses with these headphones. Now for isolation and leakage, we have also recorded a comparison, which we're going to play now. First up is isolation. As you probably heard, the Solo Pro have a great active noise cancelling, especially in the mid and treble ranges. So they are great for cancelling out the chatter of an office or the sound of an air conditioning system. A pretty interesting thing here is that the fact that the ANC of the Solo Pro works well into the treble range, while almost all other ANC systems we have measured are not effective above 1 kHz. However, their bass ANC, although enough for most situations, may not be enough for environments with a lot of low-frequency noise like an airplane. The Solo3 performs like a typical on-ear headphone that doesn't have active noise cancelling. They perform well in the treble range, but don't provide much isolation in the bass and mid-ranges. Now let's listen to the leakage recording. In terms of leakage, again, it is the Solo Pro that performs better. Its leakage profile is similar to that of Solo3's, but significantly quieter. So although with Solo3 at loud volumes, people around you may be able to hear what you're listening to, you don't really need to worry about the leakage of Solo Pro unless you are in a very quiet environment like a library and are blasting your music. One last thing, we don't usually discuss the microphone performance of Bluetooth headphones unless they perform better than usual, since they are almost always mediocre. This is due to the limitations of the Bluetooth protocol, and these two headphones are no exception. Now let's go back to Mark for the active features.
For the active features, starting with the latency, here is about the tie for both headphones with 181 milliseconds for the Solo Pros and 179 milliseconds for the Solo3s. However, note that our test bench doesn't currently take into account the benefits of the H1 or the W1 chip. We expect much less latency when paired to an iOS device than an Android phone or an external dongle like ours. And even without the H1 or W1 benefits, they perform about as well as most Bluetooth headphones. As for the wireless range, the Solo Pros are doing a little better at 277 feet compared to 242 in direct line of sight. This means both headsets would have more than enough range to be decent options when paired to a fixed source like your PC or Apple TV. Note though that when indoors, your range would vary considerably based on the density and materials that the Bluetooth signal has to travel through. As for the battery life, the Solo3 lasts much longer than the Solo Pros. However, the Solo Pros are noise cancelling, so the shorter battery life is to be expected when that feature is enabled. When using the Solo Pros with ANC on, they lasted up to 24 hours in our test and advertised up to 40 hours of listening time when ANC and transparency mode is turned off. This would be in about the same ballpark as the Solo3s, which lasted up to 42 hours in our battery drain test. Both headphones also charge exceedingly fast for the battery lives. The Pros charge fully in about 1.2 hours, the Solo3s 1.5. This also means that a quick 5 to 10 minute charge gives you about 3 hours of listening time, which is great, especially if you forgot to charge them overnight and just need a quick top up before you leave the house. Unfortunately, since the Pros cannot be used wired, if they run out of battery, then you will be without music until you can charge them again. This may be a deciding factor if you're hesitating between the Solo3s and the Solo Pros, but for most, the quick charge time should compensate for that. As for the app support, like most devices released under Apple so far, they do not have a dedicated app or software to customize the sound profile. Instead, they have an enhanced interface that you can access via the Bluetooth settings of the headset on iOS devices. Like the Apple AirPods Pro and the AirPods, the Solo Pros and Solo3s use the H1 and W1 chip respectively to seamlessly connect to your iPhone or iPad. When in proximity, just turning the headsets on will generate a pop-up on your iOS device with pairing and battery information. Going into the Bluetooth settings for the Solo Pros, you have a few more options like being able to turn the noise cancelling on or off, or to enable the transparency mode, but that's pretty much it. It's a bit disappointing since they don't have customization options like an EQ, room effects, or even a slider to control the level of noise cancellation. Overall, this makes the headsets feel a bit bland when compared to some of the other headphones available on the market from brands like Sony, Sennheiser, or EKG. As for the connection options, the Solo Pro are Bluetooth 5.0 headphones with the H1 chip, the Solo3s Bluetooth 4.2 with the W1 chip, the Pros come with a Lightning to USB charging cable, and the Solo3s a micro USB to USB cable. The Solo3s also come with a 1.8TRRS audio cable, so you can use them wired with your phone. The cable has an inline remote and mic that should offer slightly better performance than the Bluetooth mics of both headsets. So overall, which headset should you choose? Well, for most users, the decision is pretty simple. If you care about the noise cancelling feature, then get the Solo Pros. They isolate surprisingly well in noisy environments for an on-ear headset, beating out headphones like the Marshall Mid ANC. They also have a much better build quality than that of the Beats Solo3, which makes them feel more durable and higher end. Unfortunately, the redesign does make them a little tight on some heads, so they may not be as comfortable as the Solo3s for some. The Pros also have no wired mode, so if they run out of battery, then you're out of music until you charge them again. Luckily, they charge quite fast and they deliver a more neutral sound than the Solo3s. If you have the budget, then the Pros are a good upgrade, especially thanks to the noise cancellation feature. But if you don't need the added isolation, then the Solo3 may provide a better value. They just won't feel as premium. And that's pretty much it. You can check out all our measurements on our website. And if you like this video, subscribe to our channel or become a contributor. Also, we're currently hiring in our offices in Montreal for various positions. So if you want to help people find the best products for their needs, have a look at our careers page on our website. Thank you for watching. See you next time.